Y'all learn about the life of David. Well, today's message is a little bit, I would say, different for me. And when I describe this, you're going to ask me about all my other messages, but just hear my heart in it. This is a message that I am like at the starting line on. Or maybe I could say I'm like just started the race on, or maybe I'm in my in-between. And you know, sometimes there's messages that we are learning together, and there's messages where I maybe feel like I made some strides in this, and I want to tell you my journey. But this is a message that, like, in the last month, the Lord has been doing in my heart. And so it's coming to you from a place of just we're learning together on what God is doing. It's something that I think we all struggle with, yet many of us would not even say that we struggle with it, including me, until really the Lord started to get my heart and say, hey, I need to work on this. So I want to start by reading you this scripture. It's in Luke chapter 6, and it's in verse 47. It says, I will show you what it's like when someone comes to me, listens to my teaching, and then follows it. It is like a person building a house who digs deep, lays the foundation on solid rock. And when the floodwaters rise and break against the house, it stands firm because it is well built. But anyone who hears and doesn't obey is like a person who builds a house right on the ground without a foundation. When the floods sweep down against that house, it will collapse into a heap of ruins. And what it is saying is, hey, I can actually show you who listens to my teachings and who follows them by what they are building. Because if they are listening to my teachings and if they are following them, then there's an intentionality that they are digging deep and they are building something that will withstand the storms of life. It is actually showing you that if we were to look at our lives, we would be able to tell if you and I are following the Lord and obeying his teachings because of what we are building. And as I was looking at this, I was reminded of a teaching of the Lord's that I just want to read to you to kind of show you where I'm headed, okay? So this is a teaching from the Lord. Matthew 12, starting at verse 33. It says, either make the tree good and its fruit good, or make the tree bad and its fruit bad. For the tree is known by its fruit. You brood of vipers, how can you speak good when you are evil? For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. The good person out of his good treasure brings forth good, and the evil person out of his evil treasure brings forth evil. I tell you, on the day of judgment, people will give an account for every careless word they speak. For by your words you will be justified, and by your words you will be condemned. I have come to find that a missing piece in my building project of whatever I'm trying to build could be my lack of controlling my tongue. It could be my words. And here's the thing, most of us would actually not say we struggle with our words. We would say, I'm having a problem with my friendships. I'm having a problem in my marriage. I'm having a problem at my work. I'm having a problem at my school. And we would maybe not even give credit to where it is due. And maybe we're actually having a problem with our tongue. And so as we're choosing to build something, I feel like the Lord was just beginning to show me that my words were playing a part in who and what I am in building. I told you this is something that I am currently walking through. Just a few weeks ago, I was helping my oldest daughter with her hair. And many of y'all know my husband is black, and so my girls have hair that I do not know what to do with. And so I am learning every day how to do something with their hair and tame it, and I don't know. So we're working on it together. And I'm wearing this old t-shirt that I've had for several years, and it says, Mom life is the best life. And right in the moment of working on her hair, she stops me, looks me dead in the eyes, and she said, is mom life really the best life? And I have to be honest, before a filtration system happened, I just blurted out sometimes. And we moved on with the day, but the Lord wasn't going to let me move on. Because as much as it is true that there are days in motherhood that I have no idea what I am doing, and I struggle very hard, there are days that are amazing. But no matter what the day is, I was devastated that I had planted any seed of doubt or fear or anxiety in my daughter about a season she would one day be in. I was devastated in that moment that my heart just blurted out a current struggle for me, but it did not have to be one for her. And yes, it was true. But in the moment I realized I am building something with my words. I am building her expectations for the future. I am building her belief in the foundation that she will stand on in the seasons that she goes into. And I want to choose my words wisely. Our words play a significant role in our present and in our future, but they also play a significant role in our perspective of our past. And they matter deeply. And so what I want to do is I want to give you 3 things about words that are very important if you and I are going to build something that can withstand the storms of life. If we are going to build something that can last, we need to take these 3 things about words into account. And the very first thing is words cost. Words cost. When you go to build something, we all know we need to count the cost before we start the project or we'll look foolish. In Proverbs, the Bible tells us that even a fool can look wise if they'll remain quiet. Why? Because words matter. They tell us something. Words are not free. They always cost us something. And so although you can say it, doesn't mean that you should say it. Some of us have already put our foot in our mouth once in our lives. We know we should not do that. And we just read a passage and it says, we will give an account for every careless word. And if you go back to the original language, you can actually exchange that word careless for useless. For every useless word. And going back into our analogy of building something, I have this picture in my head of us using bricks to build a foundation in a wall. And all of a sudden, as we're laying these bricks, we're handed a shoe. And we put the shoe in and we keep going with our bricks. It's completely useless in what we are trying to build. And honestly, if you use it and you place it into what you are trying to build, it is actually detrimental to the structure of what you are building. But oftentimes, we don't actually stop to clear out the shoes and the sand and build with only bricks. We just keep moving on like, well, surely it won't matter. Well, surely it won't matter. But it actually is detrimental to where we are headed. And if we honestly understood what our words would cost us and the shelf life of our words, I think we would hold them more carefully. Here's what I would tell you. If you are careless about people, you will be careless in how you communicate to them. But if you are caring of the people that are in your life, meaning you're full of care for what they are going through, then you are going to be careful with how you communicate to them. Here's what the Bible tells us about our mouths. In Psalms 141, verse 3, it says, set a guard, O Lord, over my mouth. Keep watch over the door of my lips. Psalms 39:1, I said I will guard my ways that I may not sin with my tongue. I will guard my mouth with a muzzle so long as the wicked are in my presence. If we are going to do this, intentionality is required. If you wanted to be a good steward with your finances, it would require you to be intentional with how you choose to use your finances. If you want to be a good steward with what God has given you, you're going to have to be intentional about the words that you invest. It reminds me, just a few weeks ago, we picked our kids up on a Friday afternoon after school, and we decided, let's go do something fun as a family. And I should say, I decided this. I'm the spontaneous one. And so I was like, let's do it. And Ethan's like, I'm on board because I love you. So we went off to Main Event, and we bought 4 game cards for each of our kids. And when we bought them, they give you so many points on each game card. But we are used to Chuck E. Cheese. And at Chuck E. Cheese, you get a game card, but you have unlimited points within a certain amount of time. So they are used to being able to swipe that card as many times as they want to, as long as they are within the time limit that we have purchased. But at Main Event, there is no time limit. There's only a limit of points. So I rallied all the kids together, and I said, listen, you only have so many points on this card. And so every time you swipe this card, it is going to be taking points off. And when the points are gone, they're gone. We're not buying you anymore. This is all you get. And every game cost. So please don't get impatient and swipe twice at one game, okay? All of them took it differently. Within a minute, one of them had already swiped twice at a game. Like they totally didn't even hear it. But my favorite to watch when it came to this was my son, Preston. He's 6 years old. And he understood it very carefully. And he walked around and he would look at every game and he'd be like, 5 points? I don't like it that much. To the point where we had to stop him and say, bud, we bought it for you actually to play the games. Like all of them cost. You got to just play the games. He was the very last one to spend all of his points. He was so intentional with every single game and every single swipe. And then they're so kind to give you a reward for playing all their games. So now you get to go to a store and watch them try to pick toys that are way above high that don't even come close to what they have on their card. It's really fun. I'm sorry. So anyways, he did the same thing. Very intentional. I think I'll just save it all. No, bud, we got it for you to have some fun. Like, you sure you don't want a piece of candy or anything? He is the only kid that did not spend all of them, still to this day. And when I was preparing for today's message, I was reminded of this story, and I felt like the Lord just so gently wanted to remind my heart, and maybe he wants to remind yours. You do not have an unlimited time card. You have a points card, and everything that you say or do is going to cost you something. So are you intentional about how you are spending the talents and the gifts and the words that God has given you, the relationships and the influence and the platform that God has given you? Are you intentional? Is it well spent? Do you even know where you are spending? Have you counted the cost? Words cost. The second thing I want to tell you about words is words respond. Words respond. And here's what I mean by that. Every word invokes some level of a response. So words are either building or they are tearing down. They are either healing or they are hurting. They are either cheering you on or they are booing you. They are either life or they are either death, but they are never stagnant. Words are not stagnant. They will always invoke a response. I'm reminded of a science project that I did as a kid. You've probably seen this video on YouTube. Maybe you've tried this. I'm going to give a forewarning for any of the younger generation that is in here. This is an only outdoor experiment, okay? So you can go to the store and you can buy a 2-liter bottle of Diet Coke and a package of Mentos. They're very easy to find because barely anyone likes them. I'm just kidding. Totally kidding. But you can buy these two things. You'll take the lid off a Diet Coke. You'll put it in the middle of a field and then you're going to drop a Mentos inside. And it's going to cause that Diet Coke to erupt and explode all over the place. I'm reminded that my words are like a Mentos. To some, they are soothing. To some, they are an aid that actually helps them with their bad breath. But to others, they cause an explosion. Do you know what words invoke, what your words invoke? What response do they invoke when you put them in someone's life? Have you thought about it? Have you ever been in a situation where you're walking by someone and they say something in passing? Because words have the ability to change an atmosphere. They can send you from calm to chaos in just a moment. You want to know how? Hey, did y'all hear about Susie? Oh, you didn't? Sorry about that, sorry. Now you're just wondering, what happened to Susie? Is she okay? I have questions all of a sudden. I didn't even know Susie was alive until you said, what happened to Susie? All of a sudden, you went from calm to chaos. Why? Because there are power in our words. Words invoke a response. But do you know something about the tongue? The tongue is disproportionately powerful. Compared to its size, it is disproportionately powerful. Let me read it to you in James 3. It says, we can make a large horse go wherever we want by means of a small bit in its mouth. And a small rudder makes a huge ship turn wherever the pilot chooses to go, even though the winds are strong. In the same way, the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. The tongue is disproportionately powerful. It has a disproportionate influence in our lives. James gives us 3 analogies, and I want to break these down. The first one he gives us is of a horse, and he says a small metal piece in that horse's mouth controls it. We all know that horses are very large, very strong animals, and yet all it does is take one little piece to control its strength and its direction. It does not say that the horse is not strong, that it's not talented, that it doesn't have a destination that it's hopeful to reach. It just says that unless it gets his mouth under control, he will never reach it. I don't know if you've understood this yet, but you have a strength that is given to you from the Lord. You have a direction that is predestined, that you are supposed to go in the way of the Lord. You have a destiny over your life. And if you can't control your tongue, you will never reach it. It's not that you aren't strong or talented. It is that you are lacking the very thing you need to reach the potential in you. And it is a controlled tongue. James 1:26 says, if you claim to be religious but don't control your tongue, you are fooling yourself and your religion is worthless. Another analogy was a rudder of a ship. It's a very small part of the ship, but that small rudder can control where a ship goes, even in a storm. The small rudder will keep a ship going in the right direction, even in the biggest storms. Is it possible that the reason we capsize in the storms of life, the reason we're overwhelmed by the storms of life, is because our rudder is out of control? Is it possible that we seem to never be able to get traction across the ocean that we're trying to go towards? Is it possible that we are missing something, a controlled rudder? You will never reach your potential or get anywhere if your rudder is out of control. And then the third one, he says, is a little spark that can set a forest on fire. A tiny little spark. James tells us that the tongue is like a raging fire because his wickedness has its source in hell itself. See, a forest fire, the devastation far outlasts the conversation. And we have to understand that when we choose to say something, we have to remember that our words are like fire. We can neither control nor reverse the damage that they do. When I was growing up, my parents had a lake house. And when my parents bought this lake house, the Lord just asked my dad, would you give it to me? Like he does often. And so dad just walked the plot of line and he just prayed over this lake house. And I remember very specifically, he asked the Lord, would you place an angel at the four corners of this land to protect it? And in this area, there was wildfires quite often. And there was this one summer that I remember wildfires were just going crazy in that area. And I wasn't sure if it was near our house, but I knew it was close. We weren't able to go up there because it wasn't safe for us to go and check on the lake house. And so finally, when it all calmed down, we were able to go check on the lake house. I remember sitting in the back seat and driving past miles and miles of devastation, of charred land and just trees and houses and just all of it being complete devastation. And I remember driving up to our house. And to our surprise, our house was still standing. And it had zero fire damage. But here's the part of the story that only God could do. The fire had actually come all the way up to our plot line. All the way up, and then it stopped. You want to know why I think? Because there is power in our words. And that our words cause a response. And as my dad prayed many moments before that fire came, it declared a response that God was going to protect that piece of land. Our words invoke a response. What response does your words invoke? I want to give you just a few things that maybe would help you see if you are building on sinking sand, so to say. Things that would cause you to struggle in building something that lasts. Things that are going to give you, man, this is going to invoke a response that I do not want. And now hear my heart. We all struggle with this at times. But if it is a consistent thing in our life, then we are building something that will not last. So here's some signs of an untamed tongue. Gossip, lying, putting others down, bragging, manipulating, false teaching, exaggerating, complaining, and flattering. I guess I could keep going, but those are the ones that I feel like we all can struggle with at times. And as long as those are the type of words coming out of our mouth, we will not build something that can last. And we understand that we have to stop to not have the results that we want. Can I tell you, if we are careless enough to say something, thinking that we can apologize for it later, it will not matter because the scars will remain. We have to be careful with what we are saying because they invoke a response. The last thing I want to tell you about words is words last. Words last. In Matthew, we read that words are like trees that have fruit, and those fruit have seeds to be able to plant more trees. And what we may or may not realize is many of the words that have been spoken over us may still have affecting results on us. We may still be walking out the fruit of words that were on us. They can be great words or they could be not so great words. And I want to share just an illustration with you. And I hope you hear my heart because I know that I could step on some toes in this illustration. Because I want to tell you a phrase that is often used in our culture. And I hope to open your eyes to see what it is doing with the power of the word choice. Now, hear my heart. If you've said this phrase, there's no judgment. Maybe I could just help you shift what you're saying because of the impact of it, okay? So I have heard this phrase said over other people and especially over the next generation. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. And what we meant by that was, you should have known better. I'm just disappointed in your actions or your behavior. I'm disappointed in this. But can I say it a little slower and you hear what is happening? Shame on you. Why in the world would we ever put a burden on someone that they can never carry and will ultimately always crush them? Did we understand what we are doing with our words? Because words last forever. They do not evaporate. They always are there, and they are building something. They are helping us shape or form someone or something. And if we're not careful, the things that we are building will not last, even in our kids. I want to show you something that shows you a generational blessing of words. It's in 2 Timothy 1, verse 3. It says, night and day, I constantly remember you in my prayers. And then jump down. This is, by the way, Paul talking to Timothy. Jump down to verse 5. And it says, I remember your genuine faith, for you share the faith that first filled your grandmother Lois and your mother Eunice. And you know that the same faith continues strong in you. Here's what's happening. Paul is telling Timothy, while Timothy is going through a very rough time, Paul tells him, hey, I'm praying for you. And it encourages him to keep going forward. But the root word of that remember, the word remember, actually means a burial monument. It would be like a gravestone that you would see in the graveyard, a monument. And here's what Paul is telling him. My prayers are building a statue of you and your need in heaven. So that every time God walks out of his front door, in essence, he has to walk past the statues that my prayers have built on your behalf. Because prayers are building something. They are building a monument that lasts forever. And this is why a grandmother can pray for her grandchildren who maybe she meets or maybe she doesn't, but she can plant seeds in this spiritual realm for her grandkids that are to come, and they can reap the seeds, they can reap those seeds that were sown, the fruit of that, even long after she has passed away. Why? Because words build something. Our prayers and our words build something in the generations that are to come. And if we are not careful, we will not build them something that will last. We will not build them something that can hold them up in the storms of life. I want to close with this story about a man that we all know his name, but maybe you've never heard this story. And the story is told that one day as a small child, Thomas Edison came home from school. And he gave a paper to his mother and said, Mom, my teacher gave this paper to me and told me only you are to read it. What does it say? Her eyes welled with tears as she read the letter out loud to her child. Your son is a genius. This school is too small for him and doesn't have good enough teachers to train him. Please teach him yourself. Many years after Edison's mother had died, he became one of the greatest inventors of the century. When he was going through a closet, he found that folded letter from his old teacher, and he opened it and found out the true message written on the letter. It said, your son is mentally deficient. We cannot let him attend our school anymore. He is expelled. Edison then wrote in his diary that day, Thomas A. Edison was a mentally deficient child whose mother turned him into the genius of a century. Your words are building something. And while it is true that words are going to cost you, they can also be an investment. While it is true that words will always invoke a response and sometimes they will cause a reaction, they can also build and bring healing into the next generation. And while it is true that words are going to last, they can also be eternal and make a difference in the generations to follow. But you and I have to count the cost and build something that is not useless, but that is digging deep, that is intentional, that is strong, that can withstand the storms of life for you, for those around you, and for the generations to follow you. Would you bow your heads and close your eyes with me? In just a moment, we're all going to take a moment to respond. We're going to have one last song of worship, and our prayer team's going to come forward, and we're going to respond however we need to. Maybe today you need to come forward and you need to ask for forgiveness, or you need to break off a word that has been spoken over you. Maybe today I maybe hit some triggers of maybe something that has been stirring in you, a word that you didn't mean that you said that you need to apologize for, a word that was said over you. But in just a moment, we're going to respond however the Lord leads you. And I just want to ask you a simple question. I want you to ask the Lord, Holy Spirit, what are you saying to me through this message? And I felt very strongly this morning as I was praying to just break off of you some generational curses that maybe were spoken over you. And so I don't know how you came in here. Maybe you were told as a child that you are mentally deficient. Maybe today you need to hear that you are qualified to do what God's called you to do. Maybe as a child you were told that you were always a problem. You are a troublemaker. And maybe today you need to hear the only trouble you will cause is the enemy. And you need to stand before the Lord as a son or a daughter. But right now, I just want to pray over you. Before we go into this song of worship, or before we all respond one way or the other, I just want to pray that God would break off the word curses so that we would not react from pain, but that we would lead and build something that lasts. So right now, God, I ask that you would break off every generational curse spoken over this generation. Lord, we break off every curse that has been spoken over their anxiety or over their depression, over their finances, over their families, over their marriage, over their children. Lord, I break off every word curse that has been spoken over their health, their mind, their body, their spirit. And Lord, we just break off every single word curse, even the ones that were meant well, but are not aligning with who you have called us to be, that they do not align with the word of God. And we break off every word curse. And we ask, Lord, now that you would flood into the hearts of your people and that you would speak truth. Lord, I pray that this generation, that we would be a people that control our tongue, that we would be a people that know that our rudder is under control, and you as the pilot of the ship can lead us wherever we shall go. And Lord, I pray that you would stop us not to create words that react and cause explosion, but Lord, that you would use our words as an aid to bring healing and restoration. Lord, I ask that you would use our words to build monuments in heaven and prayers over the generations to come and those that we are living in with us. Lord, I pray that you would use our words to bring life and not death. And Lord, would you have your way in your people?